Monday, October 29th. Hey there YouTube, welcome back to the Budget Sportsman. Tonight I'm sitting in probably my absolute favorite stand. This is a big two-person ladder stand and you just cannot beat it for comfort. Big platform, plenty of space to spread out, especially if you're by yourself. And it is just a very comfortable stand. You know, I've got this stand set up probably about 40 yards off the corner of a field. And several years ago, this used to be a hot spot. I could sit here and every night guarantee I was just going to see does, maybe some small bucks, and then later in the season, hopefully some good shooter bucks. But the last couple of years, it's definitely slowed down. The neighbors did some logging on their property, and I feel that it's impacted the bedding areas and changed travel patterns. And so it's not been as much of a hot spot the last few years, but still usually see some deer activity here. I noticed just a few minutes ago coming in that there's a good active scrape down here on the edge of the field. So I'm hoping that somehow maybe we'll get lucky and find a nice buck tonight. Monday evening's hunt was the first time that I saw significant signs of the rut approaching. In fact, Monday evening had one of the highest amount of deer activity that I've seen all season. About an hour before dark, I had a buck sneak in on my left. Unfortunately, when I noticed him, he was behind some brush. All he needed to do was take a few more steps, and he'd have been out in the open. He paused. I thought maybe he would turn around and come back up the way he came, which would have been even better. Unfortunately, he did neither. He slipped off straight away from me. I just saw my first legal buck of the year, but I couldn't get a shot. About a half an hour later, I had another young buck walk right underneath the stand. I didn't think he was legal because here in Pennsylvania we need to have 3 points on one side. But as I leaned out over the stand just a little bit to check if he was legal, he noticed me and took off. Tuesday, October 30th. My brother-in-law came to hunt with me on Tuesday, and we both had an action-packed morning. Shortly after light, I saw a deer out at a distance, probably 100 yards. I couldn't make it out for sure, but I think it was a buck. A little while later, I saw another deer coming up the access trail about 80 yards from my stand. This was definitely a buck, but as far as I can tell, was not a legal buck. Probably just a three-pointer that I've caught on camera before. About the same time, my brother-in-law was able to get a shot off at a buck, but unfortunately, he made a clean miss. Shortly after he made that shot, I heard some noise behind me and I turned to see a very nice 8-point coming up the trail right to my stand. Unfortunately, all it took was me turning my head to check what was coming up the trail. He saw me and was gone. So unfortunately, 2 hunts getting busted by bucks. Tuesday evening was the total opposite of Monday evening. Very slow start, very little deer movement, but toward dark, I think I heard a buck fight. It's almost dark, but I'm pretty sure there's a buck fight going on up the hill. Wednesday, October 31st. About an hour after light, I look to my right and I see a buck working its way down the trail, making a scrape. I was ready. I had the camera pointed where I knew it would walk into camera frame, and it would be an easy 15 to 20 yard shot. Unfortunately, it turned, went up the hill, and disappeared. Thursday, November 1st. I didn't have much time to hunt, so I slipped into a stand that didn't have a lot of confidence in for buck movement. I did see a spike that stood broadside for quite a while, roaming around, eating at the grass. I was hoping that some big old buck would come out and chase him off, but no such luck. Friday, November 2nd. Friday morning, I got skunked. Friday evening started off very slow, but turned into an action-packed evening. It took quite a while for the does and fawns to begin moving, but eventually I saw quite a few in the field down in front of me. About 20 minutes before dark is when things really started to heat up. I noticed a lone deer coming into the field and quickly identified it as a fairly nice buck. I was really hoping it would investigate the field, find no receptive does, and turn and work its way up toward me. I've had it happen before. Unfortunately, that's not what happened. It worked its way up into the woods. A few minutes later, it came tearing back down, chasing a doe into the cornfield. I saw it a few more times, chasing a doe in circles, and later on, just as it was getting dark and I was packing up, I saw what I assume is the same buck, making a buck rub just 40 or 50 yards from my tree. It turned out to be a pretty exciting evening. Unfortunately, I end this action-packed week empty-handed. We have another week of archery to go, and I'm excited for the action to continue heating up.
Until next time, remember to get off YouTube and get outdoors into God's great creation.